The year is 1919. The European powers had just come out of World War I, with destruction everywhere. To make sure that World War I would truly be the war to end all wars, attempts were made on both colonizer and colonizing sides to guide colonies towards independence. India, under the British, was one such nation. Although there were many attempts to bring about cooperative change, they ultimately failed because of this. The point is, the British really needed to rescue their economy. They had no option but to keep exploiting the colonies for their own benefit. To make relations with the public even worse, Punjab had been put under a certain General Michael O'Dwyer's oppressive regime. The tension only became worse when the Imperial Legislative Council passed the Rowlatt Act, which banned the trial for any Indians who protested the government. This angered the population, who referred to this act with the phrase "Na dalil, na vakil, na appeal," translating to "no trial, no lawyer, no appeal." The following events exceeded the boiling point of the people, which led to further rioting and protesting. Here Mahatma Gandhi enters the scene, preaching the policy of satyagraha, the concept of approaching protest with peaceful civil disobedience. Many of these satyagrahas turned out to be very successful, often proving lethal to British business at times, especially in the state of Punjab. To stop the chaos, the British arrested two reputed leaders of the movements, including Dr. Saifuddin Kichlu and Dr. Satyapal, and kept them hostage in Dharmashala. In turn, a huge amount of people gathered around the Dharmashala, requesting the release of their leaders. British rule demoralized itself further when policemen were ordered to fire on civilians. This angered the people to the point where angry mobs attacked British settlements on the way home, killing many British officials. At this point, the British have had enough. Historians refer to this as the starting point of the anger of the British Raj that would burst onto the people of Amritsar as the Jallianwala Bagh or Amritsar Massacre. Although there were other extreme events that contributed to independence, the sheer violence used against the people of Amritsar and the negligence of the British Raj that followed suit fueled more anti-British sentiment across the continent, becoming the most important turning point in Indian history. At this point, Michael O'Dwyer called in General Dyer to handle the situation. He demanded that General Dyer bring order to the city of Amritsar. At the dawn of April 12, 1919, General Dyer passed a proclamation that banned all meetings of any kind in public, where only 4 people could meet at a time. The people of India saw this as a clear violation to their natural rights on their own land. History has it that removing the people's rights only makes things worse. In this case, only fueled more satyagrahas and civil disobedience movements. Nonetheless, local nationalists set up a civil disobedience movement at the garden of Jallianwala Bagh of around 5,000 people, setting the stage for massacre. It was the 13th of April. In the Jallianwala Bagh garden of Amritsar, people looked for a place mainly to relax after offering their prayers of the Baisakhi festival at the Golden Temple. Nonetheless, the meeting had been assembled. The meeting had only mostly been a demonstration and discussion of civil disobedience. On the other hand, General Dyer assembled an army of Balochis, Gurkhas, and other non-Amritsar people so that when the troop would fire on the civilians, the soldiers would have no mercy cutting them down. What is surprising is that General Dyer knew that he was firing on civilians, yet he was willing to use such genocide-like means to restore order, matching the brutality of Nazi anti-Semitism in World War II. He was so determined that he dispatched 2 armored vehicles armed with machine guns. The sheer violence Dyer was willing to use against the civilians had been one of the main reasons that infuriated the people. The massacre was about to begin when General Dyer reached Jallianwala Bagh. Upon reaching, he assembled his troops and ordered the men to open fire. Many civilians died in the massacre. Dyer and his soldiers ran through 1,600 rounds until running out of ammunition. Although Dyer was born Indian and could speak fluent Hindi, his willingness to commit such atrocities towards people of his native land was horrifying. Dyer estimated casualties to be around 200, although many primary witnesses bring the count to 1,500. In the direst of consequences, two conflicting groups agree to one common enemy, those cursed redcoats. It is this turning point that saw unprecedented unity in Hindus and Muslims, much contrary to the future Muslim League's request of a new nation. At first, the British were sympathetic, as they had condemned Dyer's use of violence as unjustified, but it was not long before colonialism was put to display. The trial acknowledged that Dyer had shot countless women and children. His only punishment? Stepping down from the army. Although Dyer was no longer a general, his supporters raised £26,000 so that he could live in comfort. This triggered the Indian people, not only since the culprit got away, but only 500 rupees were given to families in need, about 50 times less money than the perpetrator of the crime. This only angered the people, as they realized how the government existed only to exploit them, and would keep doing so while they were in charge. The wrongdoings of General Dyer and the failure of British justice created massive distrust and hatred, which only accelerated the independence of India.